What's up, guys? My name is Aaron. Today I'm going to be reviewing Stranger Things Season 2. This is a continuation of the Netflix show that was a huge hit over the last year. I'm not really going to go into the plot over the show because I feel like everybody basically knows at this point. It's basically just a continuation of that show. I was a fan of the show. I liked the show. I'll probably give it like a 8 out of 10 or like a B based off the first season. It was a really cool throwback to movies like E.T., Stand By Me, The Goonies, which are probably my favorite. Those type of movies, those 80s movies with like a bunch of kids and stuff. So it's a nice throwback to that. It felt kind of fresh to me. While I liked the first season, I felt like with that premise, you really can't do that thing over again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think like this type of story is like all that sustained to kind of go through 8 episodes season by season. You know what I mean? I think they probably could have done it like different characters or something like that. But after going like a continuous story and stuff, I just didn't think that they could really pull it off. Based on watching this show, I thought that basically true. They really can't do this thing over again. It felt like really kind of drawn out to me. And there's like a lot of pandering. It's just my like thoughts on what the season was. Like I said, this felt really dragged out and pandering compared to the pureness of the first season. I felt like there was like a lot of unnecessary references to songs, movies, TV shows of the 80s that just didn't really add much to the context of the story. Like there's like 5 different song drops in the first episode alone, and like they're really obvious in ways that you would basically know what song they're gonna play when it happens. You know what I mean? There's more time dedicated to Barb, a character who did not have more than 10 lines in the first season, and I just don't understand the popularity of this character. She really did nothing at all, and just the time spent with this is just kind of so dumb to me. I get there's fans, but it's just like, what are we doing here? It just felt like they're just padding out the runtime of these episodes. There's so many moments of them trying to create cute moments for the show to kind of generate the magic of the first season. Basically anything concerning like the love triangle between Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan and others of that type of thing. It just felt really like the same thing over and over again and kind of just going through the same beats of the first season. This season is a lot more reliant on special effects with the upside down and like the creatures and the demigorgons and stuff. And I think the limits of a TV budget really shows with like how much emphasis they put on that. It's not like Game of Thrones where like you could tell they have a pretty big budget, but with this show, like it just felt kind of to me, you know what I mean? Like I liked it when they kind of focus on like the practical effects, like with 11 and stuff. I feel like that stuff is really where the show is at its strongest when it comes down to like special effects. And the production value. The production value is pretty good for the show. I felt like there was like a lot of plot holes and kind of like weird characterization throughout this entire show. Like basically concerning the 11 subplot where she is in the cabin with Harbour basically. And it's basically like the super powered rebellious kid chooses to be locked up in a cabin for a year. It just makes no sense at all. Like, given like her character in the first season, I feel like within like a week she would have like bust out of that thing and just ran off. You know what I mean? There's like no reason she would stay in there at all, considering how strong she is. It just doesn't make any sense. The new characters in the show, outside of maybe Bob, who plays Joyce's new boyfriend, I felt like kind of just didn't leave a big impression on me. Like the new doctor dude that's played by Paul Reiser, I felt like he didn't really leave a lasting impression on me. I felt like everything with Max and Billy could have been left on the cutting floor room. Like just nothing connected with me at all. Like I think they're good actors, but I really didn't care about the stupid like relationship drama with the kids and stuff, and I felt like Max was just kind of there to kind of create unnecessary drama that really wasn't necessary at all. And I don't feel like her character was all that like different or anything. And I felt like Billy was just like a one-note racist that was just really over the top, and he just took time away from interesting things for the show. I think that he was well acted, but I just felt like it was just kind of like a one-note type of thing. I feel like everything in this show is kind of like a slow burn to the finale of the show. I don't really mind like slow burn shows. I think Mindhunter is probably one of the best shows of this year, but I kind of like to have like a point to why it's so slow. Mindhunter makes sense because it's like detective work and it's like them trying to figure out the psyche of these serial killers, so it makes sense why it would be as slow to kind of match the methodical nature of these dudes. It doesn't really make sense why this show is like 9 episodes or whatever. There's not like a lot of plot to it. There's not like a lot of like nuance or anything to me. To me, it finally picks up during the last 2 episodes, but at that point, like, I was kind of out of it basically. It kind of ended with like a dramatically inert ending to me. Like, I get it. I get it why people would like to see something like that. But to me, it was just kind of boring, and I mean, outside of the Dustin stuff, I thought that was kind of cute. And everything else, I was just like, who cares, basically. And then the first few episodes kind of felt like an extended reunion to a show that just came out last year. Like, I get it why they would do something like that with like Gilmore Girls, which is like had like a 7 or 8 year hiatus in between seasons. But this came out last year, and they had a recap that came out right before the show came on. So I don't really understand why they're taking like 20 minutes to kind of get everybody back in the groove of things. Like, we get it, basically. Now, for the positive of the show, I do think that by episode 5 or 6, it kind of picks up the momentum and it gets a little bit interesting. The Will stuff, where he's seeing like the upside down and he's like, kind of like haunted by that stuff, I think that's pretty interesting. I think it's well acted, and it becomes to kind of be a little bit more crystallized with what they're trying to do with that. The production value continues to be really good with like the costumes, the set, props, the music. All of it really does feel like that Steven Spielberg, John Carpenter vibe with basically every single episode. I do think there's some nice character moments in the show, like Dustin and Steve. I think that stuff was really good. So I wasn't like super upset. I was just kind of bored watching it, but some of the things with like that type of stuff was kind of interesting to me. But to me, the highlight of the show is always going to be Millie Bobby Brown as Eleven, or Jane. I think she's just like a really great actress. Like, she conveys so much with like her eyes are just like a quiver, her voice. When I watch her act in like a scene where she's supposed to be like badass, or like her kind of acclimate into the real world, to me, you really sense like the natural talent in her. And no matter how kind of goofy her storyline is, she kind of rises above the material to kind of make it more investing to me, even though the writing isn't that strong to me. I think that people say that episode 7 is like the weakest episode, but to me, I was the most interested in it because it was just focusing on a character who I thought that was like the only part of this show that kind of I would like to see more of, you know what I mean? I think 11 and that whole deal is more interesting than them regurgitating the Goonies or whatever, you know what I mean? I think maybe the insane hype of this show probably diminish how much I enjoyed it, but I do think this is kind of like a step down from the first season because it's just basically the same thing as the first season, but they just lost the magic. I think this is like kind of like an alright show, you know what I mean? The production value is still really great and the acting's pretty good, but I just feel like they're just kind of going to a loop and there's really not much you can do with this storyline. So overall, I would give this like a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, this is okay, and I get why people like it, but I wouldn't watch this over again, and I'm kind of dreading season 3. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Stranger Things 2. What are your guys' thoughts? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments what you thought, and thanks for watching. Thanks, guys. Bye.